Hello folks, and as some of you are already aware of, I'm going to be chatting about frogs this evening. I know it's a bit of a topic that a lot of people don't enjoy talking about or looking at or anything to do with them. I just thought I'd choose a subject this week that is for me a passion, something that I really enjoy talking about and looking at and all the rest of it. So I see some people already waving. I'm going to wave and say hello to everyone. As I said, yeah, frogs for me are a huge passion, and wherever I go, of course, birds, whether it be in other bush and other countries, always have a look at the birds, but certainly if there's frogs around in that sort of time of the year, I am looking around. It's quite strange, actually. I'll go frogging in the darkest of night into the thickest of bush, and I don't really worry about too much else unless I find the frog that I'm after the call for. So yeah, I'm just going to go through. I've got a couple of pictures. I've got my new updated frog book. This is it. There we go. It's brand new. It's only come out I think end of last year, and it's got all the latest stuff in it. It's an amazing book, and it comes with a CD of calls as well. So I'm going to be playing some of those. You see in the bottom corner there. There we go. It comes with some of the calls. It's got about 160 calls of frogs throughout Southern Africa, which is amazing. So a nice way to be able to learn some of the calls. And yeah, as I said, it's not something that a lot of people enjoy. I know there are some froggers out there. I've just got an email from, let's see who it was. It was from Animal Lady Lay, is it? I think it, or Laura in Ohio, and she just sent me two pictures that she went to the zoo a few days ago. They look like platana pictures, which are related to the amphibians. Thanks very much for those pictures. I really enjoyed it, Laura. Thank you so much. And those look like platanas. They are the frogs that pretty much live underwater permanently. All right, so I've got how many pictures here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pictures that a couple were taken on holiday. One in the Kruger, and 2 of them in Botswana, and 1 in my toilet at home here. I've got, well, at one stage I had 7 different frogs living in my toilet cistern, not in the bowl, but in the cistern at the back, and they're obviously coming through the water pipes, and they seem to be loving it and enjoying it in there. Every time I lift up the lid to the cistern, I'm seeing more and more frogs. So everyone is happy living in there, which are all good. And yeah, if any of you would like to send in a few questions, you're more than welcome. I'll try and keep up with the chat rooms. It's going to be quite intense because I've got to put on the calls on the computer here next to me. I've got my book. I can show you other pictures as well. But yeah, we'll have a look and just got some general information about the frogs. What I'll do is I'll start out with possibly one of the more common frogs out here. One that is possibly one of my favorites, certainly one of my top 3 favorite frogs. I'm going to put up the picture now. There we go. Have a look at that. This is the grey tree frog, or the foam nest frog. And for some of you that have been with us for a while, you'll certainly recognize the foam nest. We get to see those white sort of masses of foam hanging on trees over water. And this is from this particular frog. And basically what it is, it's the female that produces a secretion that when she wants to lay eggs, she'll secrete this substance, and she'll take her back legs and she'll rub them against her body, almost like a soap, that when you sort of invigorate, it becomes quite frothy and foamy. So it works exactly. And as it dries or starts to dry, she'll then release her eggs, and the male will release the sperm at the same time. And this foam will then harden and encase these fertilized eggs. And it'll take about a week or so for those tadpoles to develop. And of course, the position of the foam nest over the water, then gravity basically just drops the tadpole straight into water. So very nice way that the parents will ensure the survival of the particular species. So very cool. And I'm just going to try and play you the call here. So I'm going to have to take the microphone out. And I've got this on computer. So if you just bear with me here, I'll just show you here. Let me try this.
Southern firm nest frog, Chiromatris xerampelina.
How about that? It's certainly one of the more interesting of frog calls. It's very, very unique in the fact that we're used to bubbles and sort of chorus-like, and this one will often you'll get this little bubbling chirping more than anything else in the corner of a room. And here in South Africa, at least, a lot of the times you encounter them, they'll be sitting on top of a frame or on top of a light fitting, and as the insects are attracted to the light, he'll sit there and he'll quickly zap at these insects. So certainly one of my favorites, the grey tree frog. Awesome little chap. He only gets to about what's that, 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters, and a very, very interesting little chap. Some of them that you'll hear here in the Sabi Sands, all over Djuma, pretty much everywhere within Southern Africa. So one of my favorites there. Alrighty, I'm going to show you now. This, for me, is probably one of the scariest frogs around. In Southern Africa, it is the largest. It's called the giant bullfrog, of which we get its cousin here in Djuma. This particular one, the giant bullfrog, occurs in Johannesburg and in the high veld or the high-lying areas. And wow, it's almost the length of a ruler, so it's about 250 millimeters big. It's about this big. It is seriously intense, and it's the only frog that we get out here that has got, because frogs don't possess any teeth, but this particular frog has got bony protrusions in the mouth. They're not really teeth as in calcium, but they're just bone that protrude in the mouth, and they'll use those when they're fighting each other to injure one another, as huge amounts of males will come together in the breeding season. So I'm going to put up a picture here. Have a look at this guy. He is mean. I got this picture in Botswana, myself and Catherine, Botswana, over November about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and it was raining on our last evening in Moremi, which is one of the national parks there. And right outside our tent, probably about 1-2 o'clock in the morning, I heard this call, which I'll play you shortly. And I immediately jumped out and had to take a photo. So this was at about 2 o'clock in the morning, a bit groggy-eyed, but just shows you how passionate I am about these particular animals, and had to get a pic of this particular guy. As I said, he's not very exciting, but certainly a mean chap. So I'm going to try and play you his call, and I compare it to a very it's very difficult, sort of like an old grumpy man. It's about as far as I'm going to go. And yeah, here we go. Okay, it's taking a while to load here. Not sure what's happening. Come on, computer. This is Cat's computer. I'm not a very
Pixicephalus adspersus. African bullfrog.
Well, there we go. So certainly that very low. Very interesting, hey? I know this for some of you must be quite unusual, and as I said, it's a lot of people tend to look at me a bit strange when I go crazy when I hear one of my favorite frogs or an unusual frog, and I go hunting into the dark night for this particular frog. So yeah, bear with me, and I hope that when the frogging season does start, which is summer and the first rains, just as the first rains start, we have a particular species that you hear constantly in the beginning rains while it's raining, and yeah, and you'll see me. I'm going to try and get everyone to have a look at all these frogs, and hopefully my infection of amphibians is spread onto everyone else at home. So there we go, the giant bullfrog, and the one that we have here in Sabi Sands, one that you'll hear often at Gowrie Dam. Also only during the rainy season. This is the African bullfrog, and just smaller than the giant bullfrog, but very, very similar type of call, and so I'm going to try give it a go.
African bullfrog, Pixicephalus edulis.
How cool's that? That's a funny one. Someone says funny sound. Yeah, very, very funny sound. So he's basically just the smaller version, and hence the sound that comes out is not as deep as that one, as the giant. So there we go. Some people, sounds like a man saying whoop. Yes, very much so. And if you get into it, whatever keeps you from remembering it. So if you remember whoop and the bullfrog, and it'll stay with you forever, and that's how you get to understand and remember these bird calls. Alright, that's a very British intro. Alright, is that Australian singer with the wobbly? Alright, just reading some of the comments, yeah? Alright, so that's one of the frogs that we should be hearing in summer here. Alright, so I'm going to click on now. This particular frog, at first for me was, wow, also in Botswana, but this was in almost like sort of desert conditions. No, I lie, so this was also Maremi, and this puzzled me. And I went through all my books and didn't have a single picture of this particular frog. And I had to look around and really rack my brain. A very difficult one, and eventually realized that it was a common frog that we get here. It's the juvenile version of it, and no book has got this sort of picture of it. So I had to rack my brain, and this is called the painted reed frog, and this call is unbelievable. This will always come from, as I said, painted reed. Always comes from the thick reeds along rivers. Always will happen during the rains and along your rivers, and it's quite unique. And I'm going to try and play this one. It's a very, very interesting call. Let me try and grab it up here. Okay.
Painted reed frog, Hyperoleus marmoratus.
How about that, eh? So quite high pitched, and because it's a very, very small frog, it's only about 30 millimeters or 3 centimeters in length, and it's quite a small frog, but very, very unique. And when I'm going to show you a picture here of when it's full grown, and it really is something truly spectacular. I've got to find it in my book here. Let me have a look. 65. So it's going to be quite. Yeah. So it's quite an interesting. Come on, frogs. There we go. Reed frog. There we go. Okay, let me put on this. It's quite something. All right. There we go. So there's different versions of it, and that's what it looks like when it's fully grown. And so you can understand that there were no real pictures of the juvenile version. So this is what I had to go through and speak to some people about. But look at that beautiful, beautiful mottled coloration when it's fully grown, hey? Really, and then you see on the other side the two other forms that you will get from it. Awesome stuff. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, getting a bit warm here. Phew, taking off the jacket. Let me just read some of the comments. I'm hoping everyone is sort of enjoying it a little bit. Someone's saying poisonous. No, it's not poisonous. The next one I'm going to show you is poisonous. I'm going to show you in the book. It's called a banded rubber frog. It's a red and black frog, and of course there what we term the aposmatic coloration, the red and the black, the contrasting. Someone's asking, have I seen a Serenum toad? No, I haven't. Where do you find the Serenum toad? Is it? I haven't heard of it. I don't know if it's Southern African. It's interesting. If you're a nature fan one, where do you find this Serenum toad? And if you can send me a link to what it looks like, I'd love to know. Anyone else? All right. Okay, so everyone is sticking with me. I know sometimes South America. Okay, no, I haven't seen that one. Sorry about that. But see if you can. I'll Google it at some stage, and have a look. But awesome, awesome, awesome. What's the difference between a toad and a frog from Josh and Nathan? That's an interesting question. And generally, the toads have got more of a cryptic coloration, so more of a brown, grey, sort of grey type coloration. And the frogs have got a very smooth skin. Frogs also have bright colors, and toads are very just browns. And the toad is and the frog. Okay, I'm getting myself completely made. A frog is brightly colored and smooth skinned, and the toad is wart-like and grey and brown. So those are generally the biggest difference. And then of course, if you really want to delve into it, it's got to do with the eggs. The frogs will lay clumps of 1 or 2 eggs, and the toads lay them in strings of thousands of eggs, of sometimes 1,600 to 2,000 eggs within a string. So those are the 3 main sort of differences. Alright, so I'm going to have a look here. I've got my banded rubber frog, my page 288, and you must see he is beautiful, and yes, he is poisonous, but you can handle him, which is no problem, but only if you have a cut or something like that, and you can absorb it through that. So you almost become quite nauseous and start having headaches. And here he is. I'll try and get it there. That's it, red and black. That's the banded rubber frog. And I'm going to try and play you his call. How beautiful is he, hey? Aposmatic, red and black, beautifully contrasting, like you get the poison arrow frog and the blues and yellows in South America that are highly, highly toxic. But this guy is, of course, if an animal tries to go and eat him, just by immediately getting a hold of him, they'll get that distasteful taste in their mouth, and immediately will release him. Very, very beautiful, and just always something to look out for. And I'm going to try and get his call here. And where is he? There we go. Banded rubber frog. Okay.
Banded rubber frog, Phragmitis bifasciatus.
Wow, that's quite a loud one as well, and that will go pretty much all the way through summer. And I actually heard one, it must be about a month ago, so it's only now that this cool weather's setting and that you won't be hearing them, but the place to find them is in sort of shallow waters in a tuft of grass in the middle. You'd have to sort of move that tuft of grass, and that's where he sits. A very, very difficult frog to find, because you'll get to a pond or a dam or a lake, and you'll just have this mass of these frogs, and to try and sort of work exactly where the sound is coming from is almost impossible. And what you've got to do is you've got to get low down onto the ground where sort of the level of these frogs, and you've got to cup your ears straight down and sort of move across from grass tuft to grass tuft, and it looks very strange and looks like you are not right in the head a little bit, but certainly it does give you a good opportunity to find them. So that's the banded rubber frog, the poisonous one, but of course you can handle only if you do not have any abrasions or cuts on your hand. All right, and this next one, this is the one that's in my toilet. This is the little bubbling casina, and that's the cistern. And that was just, I had to take all the water out to try and catch them, to try and relocate them to a water source nearby. That was the first time I saw them, and they just kept on coming back. So I sort of just thought, well, they're there for a reason, obviously like it. And I thought, well, I'll leave them, and looked at it the other day in the cistern, and there were more. So I've left them, and this is just one of them. They're very, very cute little chaps, and also very difficult to find. And bubbling casina, after the bubbling, because of that sound they make, I normally can try and simulate it. That. So we'll see if you keep that in mind, and I'll play the tune now, and tell me if I'm any good at it. I'm using the mouse on the computer for a different one. Here we go. Bubbling casina. So remember my call.
Bubbling casina, Casina senegalensis.
There we go. So how did I do that? So yeah, a very loud call for a very small frog, and that's one thing you'll notice is that because they're small, they have to have quite a loud call to be able to get above a lot of the larger frogs and be able to mate. And very, very cool little creature. In fact, let me show you a picture, because they occur in male and female different colors. And let's see, let's go to the right page here. Also definitely one of my favorites, and I'm going to keep the last one as my favorite frog. And here we go. I'm going to click on here, and here's another picture of it when it's, of course, being in the toilet, has no sunlight. It's going to be very, very dark. You couldn't really see the colors. And so here is what they look like out in the open. There we go. Look at that beautiful striation, beautiful coloration. The bubbling casina. How awesome is that dude? Alright, so that's my sort of top frogs that I enjoy, and I'm going to show you my favorite. I'm going to give you its call, and maybe some of you might remember, some of you not. My favorite is called the brown-backed tree frog, and tree frog because he enjoys sitting in trees, calling from an elevated position. Once he locates a female, comes down to water and mates and things like that. So my favorite is the brown-backed tree frog, and let me show you a picture of him. I don't have any photos of him, hence why I had to rely on this. And keep in mind that generally frogs are not the most beautiful things, and this particular one for me is just the way it's made, or the way it is. Look at that little chap. And when he sits up, he looks almost human-like, with the neck and the head sort of sits forward. And of course the brown back with that brown patch on his back, that's my favorite. And when I hear him calling, I will run in lion-infested bush just to find him. Very interesting. So I'm going to try and give you the call, and For a while, I didn't really know what this call was until I really started delving deeper into frogs, and also why this is my favorite.
Brown-backed tree frog, Leptopilus mozambicus.
There we go. So isn't that cool? It suits him, and I just, every time I hear it, I just get this awesome feeling inside. And when you see him calling, it just really does make it all awesome for me. And I'll see leopard, I'll see lion, I'll see all the big 5-minute drive, but if I see that little frog, that is what makes my drive. So awesome, awesome, awesome. And then I'm just going to go through 2 frogs, 2 of the most common around here, 2 that you will hear all the time. And the first one is the bushveld rain frog. This is one I told you that you will hear right in the beginning of the rainy season. He is, to be honest, possibly the least better looking out of all of them. Here's a picture of him. My gosh, he is quite a crazy looking frog. It's quite an obese looking one. This is called the bushveld rain frog. Look at that chap. Tell me that is not so pretty, hey? I'll try and give you his call. Alright, here we go.
Bushveld rain frog, subspecies Breviceps adspersus adspersus.
Very cool. Also, you wouldn't expect out of a large sort of obese frog to come out with a very high-pitched call. You'd expect something like the bullfrog, that sound. All right, and then the last frog that I'll squeeze in quickly for the night, and that is the eastern olive toad. And this one is the most common out of all the frogs around here. And that's what you like. Here you can have a look, really the difference now between the toad and the frog. Look at that warty skin, and look at that very brown coloration. And that's the classic toad that we have that occur pretty much everywhere here. And the last one for the call for the night. Grab the mic, and here we go.
Eastern olive toad, Ametophrinus garmani.
Alrighty, there we go. So I know that you're not going to be able to all remember those. That's impossible. And yeah, like I said, I think it'll be a lot easier when frogging season arrives, and I'll take this out and of course can't take a laptop out, but have some sort of device that I'll have on drive. I'll take it along with the listening, that little electronic listening device, yeah, we can do a bit of a mixed sensory drive with all the sounds and all of that sort of thing. So hopefully everyone will join me in the frogging when it happens. But so folks, it hasn't been too much time of any chatting. It's very difficult for me to keep up with a lot of the emails. I haven't really chatted. I'll have to read them out when I'm done here. And thanks very much for sticking around and for the comments. I have been looking at them as we go. And yeah, I hope everyone joins me for tomorrow morning. I'll be presenting on Drive in the morning. And have a beautiful, beautiful day, if it's your afternoon or your morning or your night. And we'll see you tomorrow. Cheerio, folks. Bye.